Hey there, Sandy here. This is a live hangout for subscribers to my email list, so that's you. Welcome for being here. Or if you're watching a replay, then hello. I've just come back from the beach, actually. I've been dancing all day. So a little bit, rough around the edges, but the stuff that I want to go through with you is really, really good, actually. It's something I've been using a lot recently. And as soon as I understood this, it really helped me go from having a daily sort of set of things I want to do with my business to keep it moving forwards, a DMO, daily method of operation, that could actually sometimes feel a bit like an unwieldy beast, like there were so many different parts to it, and no real clear sense that sometimes I couldn't even remember all of it. And I had a little list that I worked from, but it just felt, I never really felt like I was doing it all, and over time that can be sometimes a little bit discouraging because you never feel like you're getting the stuff done that you would like to get done. And the information I'm going to share with you in this quick hangout has totally transformed that. It's helped me have a really clear daily method of operation, which helps me approach my work with more focus, more clarity. I'm getting way more done, way more effective action done. And I feel good because I know that I'm watering my garden every single day. And, with an internet business, that's something that's really important, is to be actually taking care of your business, of the marketing of it, of everything involved with it on a daily basis. But this information is actually something that you can use whether you do internet stuff or not, okay? But I am going to be using that as an example because obviously that's what I do. That's what you asked for information for when you opted into my newsletter list, probably. Okay, so I'm actually going to share my screen because I have some slides here just to make it easier to get this information. I'm pretty visual, so I know that if I have to listen to someone only, it can actually be a little bit, I can lose some of the stuff. But when you can see it, if you're visual too, then that just helps really understand. So where does this information come from? It's called the Rule of Five. And it actually came from Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen. And there's an interesting story because they had written a book called Chicken Soup for the Soul. It's been one of the most popular personal development books of all time. But it didn't start out like that. They had 42 rejections from their publishers before anyone would even consider publishing it. And once they found a publisher, they couldn't rely on that publisher to really promote it. I don't know if you know much about publishing, but not the first time I've heard this said, but basically there's a lot of publishers that don't put their all into the marketing of a book. Quite often, if you really want it to go supersonic and become a bestseller and just to really become a massive book, you have to do stuff too as the author. You can't just sit back and expect it to fall into your lap. And so Jack and Mark Victor Hansen were aware of this, and they wanted their book to become a bestseller. They absolutely that was their main target, their goal, their aim, whatever you want to call it, and they wouldn't accept any other outcome. So what did they do? Well, they interviewed 10 best-selling authors and asked them how they had become bestsellers, like what they had done, their journeys, and the things that they'd learned and that worked and the stuff that didn't work. But the trouble was that after doing all those 10 interviews, they still didn't really know what to do. They still found themselves feeling overwhelmed, feeling like there was so much that they could do, but what was going to be effective? That was the question. What would actually get them to their target of becoming a New York Times bestseller? And what they did is what we're going to cover now. Because before I get to that, another thing that was quite interesting about their story is that they bought a book called 1001 Ways to Market a Book, and they wrote out each of the 1001 ways on the Post-it notes, and they stuck them up all over the wall of one of their offices. And they decided that before the end of the year was out, that they would have done every single one of those ways. So 1001 ways. So can you imagine? No wonder they were feeling a little bit overwhelmed. That's a hell of a lot of stuff to be doing. And so what happened next is basically they met someone who said, okay, guys, I know that you're feeling overwhelmed. I know that you really want this book to become a bestseller. You're willing to to do whatever it takes. We just don't really know exactly how to make that happen yet. Then listen to this story. And the story was that when you want to fell a tree, cut down a tree, you don't just take an axe to it and expect it to fall down. Let me just get the slides actually, and I'll be able to show you what I'm talking about here. Okay. Oh, hang on, it was here. So the rule of 5. So when, let's say you wanted to cut down this tree, you wouldn't just, you know, take an axe and try and get it in one swing, because that would be pretty much impossible. You would, what would be much more effective would be to take 5 swings a day, every day, until you get the tree down. And this is what a man explained to them, was that a lot of people, when they try to do something, they take an axe, they make a massive swing at it, and if it doesn't fall down instantly, they decide that, oh well, it just doesn't work. And instead of just keeping going and taking consistent action, but not only consistency, but actually choosing effective actions, like taking 5 swings a day, eventually you're going to cut down the tree. You know, you're going to get to that point where the tree can't stay up any longer. And I don't really like talking about cutting down trees, I have to say, guys, but I did like this example because it's true. If you try to just knock it down in one fell swoop, it won't do that. So what did they get from this? Well, they realized, and this was the advice they got, that they had to do the same thing, that their tree was getting to the New York Times bestseller list, which you can see here, it did get there. And it sold now, I think, 500 million copies, or $500 million worth of copies. And at the time of this picture, over 8 million. And this was a while back, so I think way more now. It's been translated into 40 different languages, and it's one of the biggest personal development books of all time. So when they saw this, they asked themselves, okay, well, what could be our 5 things? What 5 swings a day can we take at this tree? And this is what they came up with. Having 5 radio interviews every day. 2, sending out 5 books to editors. 3, calling 5 TV network agencies and asking them to buy the book for their salespeople. 4, giving seminars to at least 5 people and selling the book at the back of the room. And 5, following up with people who've read the book. So these were the 5 things they committed to do every day. And you'll notice they weren't messing around. You know, every single one of these actions is about marketing. It's about marketing the book so that more people can see it. There's more chance of hitting that critical mass. And in fact, that's exactly what happened, because sometimes, you know, people would look at a list like this and think, well, what's the point in sending out 5 books to editors? They might not all like it. Or why call 5 TV network agencies? They're probably not going to say yes. But Jack and Mark's approach was that if they covered enough bases, some of them would blossom, some of them would actually flourish. And you know, you have to sort of disconnect a linear approach to this and say, okay, I don't care if each radio interview attempt doesn't result in a radio interview, or if I don't get 5 reviews from every 5 books I send out. I'm doing this so that I am swinging at my tree, and I know that one of the swings, one of the days, will hit the jackpot. And that's exactly what happened, because one of the TV networks that they called and asked the producers to buy the books for their salespeople, one of them loved it so much that she bought it for other people in her family. And one of them was the producer of another massive TV show in the States. I think it was the Today Show. And so this guy from the Today Show read the book, loved it, and decided to interview Mark and Jack, which got them huge exposure, huge exposure. I think they also got into the National Enquirer, believe it or not, because it has huge readership. But they basically, through doing this, through taking consistent daily actions that were strategically chosen to get them to where they wanted to go, which was the New York Times bestseller list, one of the actions, a few of the actions created massively, you know, like the kind of move where you're walking up a mountain and suddenly a dragon stoops next to you and picks you up and flies you, you know, 3/4 of the way to the top. One of the actions that you take will be like that dragon. You know, you're not taking each action because you think it's going to exactly make the result you're looking for. And so that's what happened with them. They got into a big magazine, onto a TV show, and boom, the book became a New York bestseller within 2 years. In fact, I think it was just 14 months. So, you know, what's the relevance of this to you? Well, what could you do? What could you create for your business or your project that would be your rule of 5? You know, what would get you to where you want to go? It might not be a New York Times bestseller, but maybe it is. You know, why not dream big? Maybe it's making a certain amount of money per year. Maybe it's meeting a soulmate. Maybe it's starting up a children's charity, you know. I've just been dancing so much, I just realized my body needs some sugar. So what could be your action steps? And I'm going to go through with you my action steps and also give you a couple of ideas to help you actually find your own steps. So let me just show you my ones first of all. Something that you want to do that's really important is make sure that you include income producing activities amongst all the things that you're choosing, amongst those 5 things. Because, for example, with an internet business, you know, I could create 50 blogs a day, and that, you know, each one of my steps could be about creating something to do with the blog, but that probably wouldn't get me to where I'd like to go, because I wouldn't be showing it to anyone. Nobody would be reading the blog. It would just be me having a party on my own on my blog, which is fine, but it probably won't get me the results that I'm looking for. So what I do instead is I have some of my activities are income producing activities. That means to say they're marketing or sales related, so that people are seeing my business and buying stuff from it. So let me just show you my list. My first one is to make a video and or a blog every day. So it depends. I love to make videos. I don't always make a blog to go with it, a written blog. Sometimes I do, but I do make a video almost every single day. The second thing is that I update my YouTube channel. So either with the video here, which I'm sharing primarily on social media, or a separate video, but I update my channel. 3, I share my video and my blog to at least 5 different places, syndication. So making sure that I'm planting little seeds across the internet. 4th is that I spend time on social media connecting with at least 10 people. And 5, I do a hangout like this, or I do coaching with new members in my team. And so mine is obviously a little bit different from Jack and Mark's, because we have different aims. I run an online business that's built around videos and blogging and training. And so my list kind of reflects that. But I do have to make sure to do the syndication and the connecting, because sometimes I don't always feel like doing that, to be honest. You know, it's quite, I'm a really creative person. I'm not necessarily a massive connector. You know, I'm not going to sit there on Facebook and have 50 different chats open. It's just, it's not really that fun for me. But what I do love is writing and making a video, or editing a video, making a nice blog. And once I've done that, sometimes, especially when I first started blogging, I would be satisfied by that. You know, I'd spend ages writing a great blog. I'd post it on my Facebook wall, and that would be it. And my creativity would be kind of tired out by spending so long on the blog. And what I've learned to do now is that you should actually spend probably twice as long, in fact more, 3 times as long as you spent making the content, the blog or the video, as you do marketing it. So spend way more time sharing it, getting people to be able to see it. So sharing it to at least 5 different places, and then connecting with at least 10 people. And that just means, you know, messages or commenting on their wall, or having some kind of communication, so that you're constantly doing networking, because what I do is a mixture of internet and network marketing. So then doing a hangout or coaching with new team members. So this list, and I actually got this list from one of my colleagues who's a big 6-figure earner with Empower, the company that I work with, and I should say her results aren't typical. I'm not saying that to guarantee that anyone who joins Empower gets 6 figures. It's definitely possible. I think there's about 150 6-figure earners now in the company, which is really rare for a internet marketing, network marketing company. So just make sure to include your income producing activities, because you want to make sure that you're, as well as satisfying your own fun, creativity, that you're helping your business to grow, to stay alive by helping new people to find it. It's like creating bridges for people to find you. And something I want to just add is that sometimes when you start doing the rule of 5, it can be a little bit boring in the beginning. I found that when I started to do this, for example, I would be all proud of myself because I would do it one day, and then the next day I'd come to do it again because this is daily steps, and I wouldn't feel like doing it because I'd just done it the day before. And that's when I realized how I wasn't as consistent as I thought I was, because I had this sense that I was doing a lot, but actually I realized I could be doing a bit more, a bit more consistently. It doesn't mean you spend 12 hours a day on this, but you make sure that you at least get this done. And I also work on other projects as well, but this is like my 0-level marketing, some people call it. Like, as long as I've done this, I know that I've got my business moving forwards. Because if you don't, then your business it's almost like a baby. It's like, whoa, what happened? Where did my milk go? Where did mom go? Why is no one here to look after me? And you want your business to grow, to be strong, and to flourish. So this is a great way of actually making sure that you do that. And something that can help you with that initial stage, when it can feel a little bit like a chore, a bit repetitive, like a bit boring, is, I would say, understand how habits work. Because there's a great book called The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg, where he explains this actually. And basically what happens is that when you start a new habit, your brain goes crazy. It's literally, it doesn't understand what's going on. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen here. Come back. It doesn't understand what's going on. And everything is new. So it's having to work hard constantly to be able to do what it needs to do. So for example, when you move to a new city, finding your way around is a nightmare, because you don't know where anything is, and you keep getting lost. You can't just nip out to the shops because you don't know where the shops are. So nipping out could turn into an epic 3-hour trek. This has happened to me. I travel a lot. But what happens after a while, after a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, you start to get to know your way around. You start to know where the streets are, to recognize landmarks, to have certain routes that start to know very well. And that feeling of, oh my God, where am I? I'm lost, starts to dissipate. And that's because you've done the same walks or taken in the same information a sufficient number of times that your brain has now remembered it. It's stored it as a habit. So when you look outside your house, it remembers the street. It remembers that at the end of the street, if you turn left, there's a bridge that takes you to the ocean, where I live. It remembers that, whereas in the beginning, it doesn't. Everything's brand new. So when you're starting your rule of 5, it really helps to know that, because you might find in the beginning, you're like, oh yeah, but I don't want to do this every day. And I'm doing it about 5 days a week. I don't necessarily do Saturday and Sunday. But it kind of depends. If I'm inspired, then yes, I will. But doing it daily, on a daily basis, will start to fell that tree. And that's the whole point of this rule of 5, is that it's not like the sporadic rule of 5. It's the rule of 5, because it's like if you want to fell that massive tree, you can't just take a random swing at it and then 2 weeks later swing again, and 3 weeks later, and expect that after a month it will fall down. Whereas if you had taken 5 swings a day every day during that month, the result would be completely different. And it's exactly the same with this. And it's what's so magical, is that once you get past the 30 days, the first month of doing it, it truly honestly gets easier. And if it doesn't, feel free to contact me and tell me I was wrong. But what I found with developing new habits is it's always the case that the first couple of weeks are the hardest, and then after you've gone through that, it starts to become a lot easier. And after a while, you start to appreciate it because you feel good because you're doing what you set out to do. You have a plan, and every time you take faith-inspired action. I don't mean like religious faith. I mean faith where you're taking action because you believe in your dream becomes stronger because not only because of the actions you're taking, but also because of the fact that you even took that action. So many people get distracted or stop or do tons of things at once. And, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. What I've just noticed myself is that the people who've got the kind of results that you're probably looking for, that, the next level results that I'm looking for, they are consistent. They do follow through on what they say they'll do, and whether that's to themselves or to other people. So once you've started doing this for about 30 days, it will become something that feels good. It might happen even before that. It's like with flossing. I remember when I first started to floss, I didn't like it. It hurt my gums. It felt like a hassle. I didn't like doing it at all. I would do it once every 2 weeks. And I decided, I should do this every day, but I just didn't want to. And then one month I decided, okay, I'm going to make this a priority. I'm just going to floss once a day and make this a habit I focus on. And I only focus on one habit per month. And so I did. And the funny thing now is that if I don't floss during my day, my mouth starts to feel weird because it has stuff stuck in it. I don't have perfectly straight teeth. I do get stuff stuck in my teeth. I had a baby tooth missing, so I actually have teeth that are a little bit lopsided. And so what I noticed was that when I floss, I can really make sure my teeth are clean and that my mouth is clean. And I love that feeling now. Now that I've done it more than a month, and this has been, a habit now for about 6 months, it doesn't take that much time. The mental resistance is gone. And in fact, it feels good. And it's just, if I don't do it, I don't like how I feel. So I just do it. And it's just part of my routine now. There's no resistance. And that's what happens with your rule of 5, is that it starts to, you'll feel like you haven't showered if you don't do it. and what I noticed when I started to do videos every day, which is the first time I really understood how habits work, was that the feeling I got from posting a video, from going out of my comfort zone, and then getting feedback and receiving comments and messages from friends and people watching, that was such a great reward that it made me want to do the habit, even though sometimes I didn't completely feel like it. And the more that I did the habit, the more I made videos, the more that increased, to the point where I initially started for 30 days and I decided to keep going for a whole year. And I learned so much. So your rule of 5 doesn't have to stay fixed. You can change it if you need to. You'll get a sense. But I encourage you to at least start with one set of actions. And if you're wondering, well, what the hell could I make my actions be? I would do this. And this is just a suggestion. What if you took a piece of paper, wrote on it, my rule of 5, be very clear about what you want to achieve, what your target is, and then go to bed, or put it to one side and then go to sleep that night and ask your subconscious, ask the universal, God, infinite intelligence, to download to you a good rule of 5, a set of actions that will take you to where you want to go. This is actually what I did. I love doing stuff like that because you do get crazy ideas. Usually I don't get them out in front of my computer. I get them often at the beach, walking my dog, Chico, or washing up dishes in the shower, maybe like you as well. I know a lot of us do. And so rather than thinking about it from my mind, I decided, okay, I really want this to work. So I'm going to call on source, infinite intelligence, universe, help me out here. And I had a sense of what could work, but that just helped so I could really refine it. And what I did was, when I had ideas for what could go in my rule of 5, some of them didn't make me feel very good. For some reason, it just kind of felt like that was going to be a bit clunky, a bit, I couldn't really look forward to it. And then I would choose something else. And then I would decide that, hang on a minute, I'm just getting something coming through from the app. And then I would choose something else, and that would feel much better. So that's what I decided to go with. So that's how I came up with my rule of 5. So I hope this has helped you to understand how you can come up with a rule of 5 and a process that you can use to actually create it. And any questions that you have and you're on my email list, then feel free to email me back and let me know. Happy to answer them for you. So I'm going to wrap things up here because I've come to the end of what I wanted to share with you. So just remember the rule of 5. You can even Google it, get more information if you'd like. It's what Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen used to create Chicken Soup for the Soul as a massive bestseller across the world, and as what has helped lots of other entrepreneurs really start to move forwards, to start to take consistent actions that start bringing down their tree. You know, like I talked about before, felling their tree and getting close to their targets, close to where they actually want to go. So that's it for today. I'm going to go off and go to the ocean again now. So have a great day, everyone. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any questions or any feedback. So I'll see you soon. Goodbye. This has been Sandy Lebec.